Now we're going to talk about some of the absolutes that apply to organizational behavior. In reality, there are few, if any, simple and universal principles that explain organizational behavior. Let's talk a little bit about contingency variables. These are situational factors which are variables that moderate the relationship between the independent as well as the dependent variables. So in other words, what causes something? So one variable would be independent, the other one would be dependent on the independent variable. Some of the challenges and opportunities of organizational behavior concepts are that we must obviously make continuous improvements. So also to respond to economic pressures that are imposed upon us, and even though we may not have much control about it and we may not have much forecasting data to predict how the economy would be impacted, but nonetheless as organizations we have to obviously adjust and respond to those. So in tough economic times, effective management is an important asset for any company, any department, any obviously organization. In good times, understanding how to reward, satisfy, and retain employees is a premium. In other words, if you can retain, recruit, and obviously motivate highly productive employees, your organization will have a competitive advantage compared to all the other organizations that operate in the same region. Unfortunately, in bad times, issues like stress, decision making, and coping come to the forefront. So if we have good employees, we have good management system, we're making continuous improvements at the individual, group, and organizational levels, we can hopefully cope with the stress due to economic pressures a little bit better. Another challenge for organization behavior is that we need to respond to globalization on a regular basis. There's increased foreign assignments now for most employees who are working for multinational companies. Even those who are working for small companies, they're more likely to be dealing with customers, vendors, and suppliers from around the world. So working with people from different cultures is the norm. It presents opportunities as well as obviously challenges for us. Overseeing the movement of jobs to countries with low-cost labor is another trend. Unfortunately, because of cost initiatives, often companies move manufacturing or sometimes other element or branches of their departments to countries where the labor cost is lower. So that's something that we have to deal with in terms of outsourcing or even recruiting foreign employees in the new environment. So adapting to different cultural and regulatory norms is something that we must provide training for everybody in the workplace. Another element is to manage workforce diversity. Organizations are becoming more heterogeneous in terms of their gender, age, ethnicity, their religious beliefs, and inclusion of diverse groups. So diversity is a term or a concept that everybody should be dealing with, because even if I'm working with people who look exactly like me or of the same gender, religious background, or culture, there's still going to be individual differences among us. And if we don't respect those differences, unfortunately, sometimes it can lead to conflicts between me and the other individuals, or obviously between groups sometimes. We need to improve customer service. Customers come to our organizations expecting obviously timely service that we must provide. So service employees have substantial interaction with customers because they are at the front of the line. They're the ones who welcome customers and then obviously take care of their needs based on their specific issues. So employee attitude and behavior are associated with customer satisfaction. If employees have positive attitude and tells customers, welcome to our organization, how can I help you? And they do it with a smile in their face. That goes obviously a long way in terms of satisfying those customers and the customers feeling welcome. We also need a customer responsive culture. Sometimes customers' needs change. If we train employees to take care of those customers, even though they expected one thing yesterday, but today they expect something totally different. We can hopefully, as employees, adjust in the organization. That requires obviously some training, some development, and obviously resources for employees. We need to be improving the people skills of all individuals in the company. People skills are essential for managerial effectiveness as well as for interpersonal development between our own colleagues. Organizational behavior provides the concepts, the theories that allow employees, managers, and all professionals to predict the behavior of those who are working for them in any given situation. So that's the science of organizational behavior, and then the experience part basically means it's the art of organizational behavior. Working in network organization is another challenge which also provides opportunities for everybody. Networked organizations are becoming more pronounced, regardless of whether we're talking about South Asian economies or European or North American or the African continent. Chances are you'll run into network organizations. So a manager's job is fundamentally different in networked organizations or firms. The challenges of motivating and leading online requires different techniques. So online in these network organizations do provide a lot of opportunities, but because we are not always meeting face to face, we have to make sure everybody's trained to use the online technologies as effectively and as efficiently as possible. Using social media at work is something that all organizations must discuss with their employees. So the policies on accessing social media at work should be determined when, where, and for what purpose. We should clarify the privacy issues of monitoring employees and obviously their computer networks. So there's nothing really confidential in the organizational life. If I send an email to a colleague or to a customer, I have to know that that is being monitored by my superiors, and obviously the superiors should communicate that those items belong to the company and they might become public at any given time or in the future. We should also discuss who owns your digital footprints. When you're sending documents to customers, to employees, or to other organizations, again, who is the owner and how can they use that? So there has to be some training and obviously awareness on the part of everybody that deals in the organization or with the organization. Impact of social media on employees' well-being is another issue. So if people are spending too much time on social media, how does that impact the employees' well-being overall? How much time is a person actually looking at a computer monitor? How is that going to impact his or her eyesight? What about breaks? So again, these are some of the opportunities that we need to provide for our employees so they don't have eye problem, they don't have back problem, they don't have fatigue problem, or even obviously other issues that might be related to technology. So enhancing employee well-being at work is important. The creation of the global workforce means work no longer sleeps. We're working on a 24-hour ongoing basis every single day, every single week, obviously every single month and year in most multinational companies. Communication technology has provided a vehicle for working at any time or any place that you choose. Employees are working longer hours per week than they ever did in the past. The lifestyle of families have changed, which sometimes create conflict between personal and professional roles. So balancing work in life demands now surpasses job security as an employee priority. So the balance becomes important for you as a manager as well as for you as an employee or professional working for a company. We need to create a positive work environment. There's a concept called positive organizational scholarship, which is concerned with how organizations develop human strength, foster vitality and resilience, and unlock employees' potential so they can achieve basically the dreams of the organization, the mission and the vision of the company using their style and their methodologies. This field of study on positive organizational scholarship focuses on employees' strengths versus their limitations, as employees share situations in which they perform at their personal best. So in a way, we figure out what is it that this employee does really, really well, and how can we capitalize on that in the coming days, weeks, and so on. Another area of organizational behavior challenge as well as opportunities is to improve ethical behavior in the organization as well as in the department, both for employees as well as managers. Ethical dilemmas and ethical choices are situations in which an employee is required to define right and wrong conduct. Good ethical behavior is not so easily defined. It's not just a black and white issue, because it gets a lot more sophisticated, a lot more difficult. So organizations distribute codes of ethics to guide employees through ethical dilemmas. Managers need to create an ethically healthy environment in the department and in their teams and overall in the organization. There are 3 levels of analysis in the organizational behavior model. So number 1, we have inputs, and these are variables like personality, group structure, and organizational culture that leads to processes. We have group structure, roles, and team responsibilities, which are typically assigned immediately before or after a group is formed. And we have organizational structures in culture change over time. Second part of the analysis is the processes. These are defined as actions that individuals, groups, and organizations engage in as a result of inputs and that lead to certain outcomes that is desirable, obviously, for the company. And sometimes it can lead to, unfortunately, undesirable outcomes. That's where we have to scientifically study and make improvements. So the third level of the analysis in the model is the outcomes. These are the key variables that you want to explain or predict and that are affected by some other variables that should be studied and obviously planned for in the future. In terms of outcome variables, we have attitudes and stress. You see, employee attitudes are the evaluations employees make. These can range from positive to negative about objects, people, as well as events. So somebody might say, it is raining today, therefore I'm kind of having a negative attitude. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about changing rain, but we can obviously have a positive attitude regardless of whether it's raining or not. So this requires a little bit of training, obviously, and awareness. Stress is an unpleasant psychological process that occurs in response to environmental pressures. Unfortunately, some people experience more stress than they can handle. So as managers, you have to monitor your employees to make sure they can handle their stress and manage it effectively on a regular basis. The combination of effectiveness and efficiency at doing your core job tasks is a reflection of your level of task performance. And we want the task performance level to be high for each individual so he or she can be successful. The discretionary behavior that is not part of an employee's formal job requirements and that contributes to the psychological and social environment at workplace is called organizational citizenship behavior. Again, it's called organizational citizenship behavior. There's also what we call withdrawal behavior, which is the set of actions that employees take to separate themselves from the company. So again, these are all outcome variables, some positive, some negative. We have to make sure the negative does not happen as often in our departments or our organizations. We also have to be concerned about group cohesion. Group cohesion is the extent to which employees of a company or members of a group support and validate one another's work. There's also group functioning, which refers to the quantity and quality of a works group output. Finally, other outcome variables include productivity as well as survival. An organization is likely to be productive if it achieves its goals by transforming inputs into outputs at the lowest cost possible. So this requires both effectiveness, which is doing the right things, as well as efficiency, which is doing the right things in the right way. Survival, this outcome is organizational, obviously survival in the long term. So it simply is evidence that the company is able to exist and grow over the long term using the resources in the processes, using individuals and groups in an effective way. So what are some of the implications for managers about organizational behavior? Well, number one, resist the inclination to rely on generalizations. Number two, use metrics, in other words, data, in situational variables rather than hunches and gut feelings all the time to explain cause and effect relationships. Number three, work on your interpersonal skills to increase your leadership potential in your management effectiveness. Number four, improve your technical skills and conceptual skills by training and staying current with trends like evidence-based management or big data. Number five, organizational behavior can improve your employees' work quality as well as quantity, which we say is productivity, by showing you how to empower employees, design and implement change programs, improve customer service, and help employees balance their work-life conflicts. So now let's talk a little bit about the implications for stress for us employees as well as managers. So stress is a very unpleasant psychological process that occurs in response to environmental pressures. You can balance your personal and professional lives through work-life balance. So think about this question. Do you work to live or live to work? I want you to personally reflect on that question for your own benefit. So no matter what employee vacation accrual or balance sheet indicate, in many cases, workers will end this year with a week of unused time for vacation. In other words, employees do not take their vacation time if they're stressed by their managers to produce more, to work more hours. So because they fear getting fired, terminated, or not getting the promotion, unfortunately, they do not take all the vacation time that they should be taking. Research indicates that employees are more likely to respond to the direct pressure of management than to the indirect benevolence of corporate policy. So, policy or not, many employees do not take their allotted vacation time due to direct or indirect pressures from their managers. So please keep that in mind. While it's easy to dismiss these pressures, in today's economy, there's always a ready line of replacements, and many employees will do everything possible to keep in their manager's good graces, including foregoing vacation time, which adds more stress for them and also for their family members. The downside, of course, is the risk of burnout. So foregoing vacation time can wear you down emotionally, leading to exhaustion, negative feelings about your work, and a reduced feeling of accomplishment, not to mention negative attitude as well. You may find you are absent more often, contemplate leaving your job, and grow less likely to want to help anyone, including your managers. So recognize your feelings. According to a report on 2,000 employees, 2 in 3 people identified high levels of stress, out of control feelings, and extreme fatigue. We solve few problems without first recognizing them. So stress is unfortunately one of those problems in the workplace. Identify your tendency for burnout. Research on over 2,000 employees found that burnout is especially acute for newcomers and job changers. So if you have recently made a new career change, got a new job, it can help you to know any increase in symptoms should level off after a few years, but keep in mind that each individual experiences stress differently. Talk about your stresses with trusted friends and family members. On the job, appropriately discuss your stress factors with colleagues who can help you reduce job overload. So good luck in managing your stress, and this is the end of segment 2.